Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Shit Moms Won't Say. I'm always excited about the guest that I have on. She's already smirking because she knows I'm pumped that she's here. So I talk a lot about narcissistic abuse on my platform because it sort of created who I am today. Ha 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 ha. My guest tonight has literally devoted her life and her platform to talking about this topic in a way that is consumable for other people. And that's something that I think a lot of people struggle with. So we are going to get into, it's going to be heavy shit, but it's going to be funny shit because we're both funny people. So welcome, Michelle.
Thank you. I'm thrilled to be here.
Here she is, bumped, bruised, and blessed.
Thank you. I'm thrilled to be here. I'm super excited that you speak my native language of sarcasm. I'm here for it.
Sarcasm, narcissism, and abuse. Yes. We speak in tongues. People think we're speaking in tongues when we talk about things like that. They're like, what does that mean? Definitely. Nobody put a hand on you.
It's digestible and understandable.
And your content is we're going to talk all about it. Your content is quirky.
Thank you.
I love it because I think sometimes people read quotes and okay, this is side note. This is a pet peeve of mine. People identify narcissism incorrectly. People will say that person's a narcissist. And you're no, that person's an asshole. Very different. Right. So I think that the way that you make your content is quirky enough that people are oh, well, that's actually not what I thought. That
it resonates with people. Yeah, and, psychology is my jam. I do have my degrees in psychology. It's so intriguing to me. And I felt once I finally put all the twisted pieces together with my dysfunctional, toxic upbringing, I was I just wanted to help people. I actually took a class on narcissistic abuse coaching, and I thought I was going to go that route. But then at the end of the day, I was shoot, we're all healing, man. We're all healing together. Yeah. So I just started putting up these posts that I found somewhat humorous. And I appreciate that other people do too, because you want some levity, it's heavy stuff.
Yeah, so, it is heavy stuff. And your platform's just continued to grow too, which is so cool. Yeah, I love it.
Little comic relief goes a long way.
You need it. Because if you take it too seriously, you'd be dead. So, and we're going to talk all
my
about
life,
your stuff, your crap, your baggage.
I'm a lot to unpack. I'm a lot to unpack.
I'd never
be able to do a series.
Okay, we'll do a series. People are here's my baggage, and you're no. Here's the plane. Take this. Yeah.
Here's the cargo.
Right, here's the cargo. Let's do the Big Mom 3, and then we'll get a little. Yeah. So we'll do some fun stuff and then more fun stuff. So first question, Big Mom 3, and I am so curious about your answer for this one because I know how I felt about it. So I'm curious.
I'm ready for this one.
Let's do it. Did you always know you wanted to be a mom?
Yeah, man. I feel like I was born to be isn't that weird? My mom is wicked, evil from the jump, but didn't impact me whatsoever. I swear I came out of the womb I'm going to be a mom. When I was little, you'll love this. So, in school you have to they want you to come out with all these inspirational drawings when you're in second grade. You're small.
Yes.
And they kids are perfect and beautiful and they're so fun, and all these kids were coming out with these really profound life goals and dreams, things of that nature. I drew a housewife, legit, myself in a house with a feather duster. That was my big goal.
Yeah, listen, it's a good goal. I'm just surprised because I know for me, I was petrified to become a parent.
To be a mom?
Petrified.
It's so natural though.
It is. I'm not saying me, but in general, you're right. You have a kid and you're oh, this makes sense for me.
It's the best thing ever, man. It's it's the best life change ever. Joe and I, my husband, 90% of our humor comes from the kids. I'm what did we ever talk about or laugh about prior to being parents?
Nothing.
Exactly.
No, kids are weird. How old are your kids?
Okay, so we have 2 daughters. Madeline, whose birthday is tomorrow. She's
Happy
gonna be the big
birthday.
10, the big 10,
Ooh,
digits.
double digits. Okay.
I know. It's sad. It's bittersweet. Can't believe I had her 10 years ago, but she was our second child. And then our third, the little one, Josephine, just turned 8 in April. So literally right now they're 8 and 9. And then we have a son that passed in 2013. He passed when he was 3. So he would be 12 at this point. He was diagnosed with brain cancer, which is a lot.
It's
but
shit.
That's some heavy shit.
That's some heavy shit.
We had our kids in 2-year intervals. That's what we did.
Okay.
So Joe and I, we found out we were pregnant on our honeymoon. Which was fun. We weren't planning it. We weren't not planning it. We were like, hey, whatever happens, happens. And it happened. He looks at me and I'm pregnant. We're quite fertile, apparently. Not anymore.
Good
Thanks
for
to
you.
the snip.
Yeah, you got
it. So we got married in October of 2008. We went on our honeymoon to Hawaii, which was epically fabulous.
Love Hawaii, yeah.
And yeah, it's no joke. So we were in Maui, and like my sense of smell was skyrocket. It was like astronomically like disproportionate to like anyone's sense of smell ever in life. I was like, this ain't right. And of course I was drinking because living my best life on my honeymoon. Yeah. I was like, I don't know, Joe, something's off. And we got a pregnancy test. Sure enough, we were in Maui. And pregnant. 1 test, 2 tests, 3 tests, pregnant.
That should be your new Instagram handle, like pregnant in Maui.
Oh,
you know,
like
that's
nothing
like your
bad about Maui.
No, there's nothing bad about Maui. I love
it. So Joey, our son, was born in May 20th of 2009. So we do have 3 children, but 2 are alive.
2 right now. Yes. Crazy.
Daughters. I love being a girl mom. It's pretty
I'm
fun.
a girl mom. Yeah, I'm a girl mom. I think I would be good as a boy mom too. I happen to be a girl mom right now, and there's nothing sweeter. They're just so sweet.
They're incredible, man.
Right.
Kids are life. They
are.
Everything.
They're so
everything
fun.
I aspire to be.
Right? I want to grow down. I do.
Me
like
too.
She just sees things so much differently than I do. And like it's so
they're
cool.
so perfect. And it's just I just want to bottle it and keep it forever.
I agree. I hear you. Okay.
So I always wanted to be a mom. That's my answer.
That's a great answer. That's a really good one. So
despite the adversity that I faced in my dysfunctional, wicked, awful, horrific childhood, always wanted to be a mom. Go figure.
I can't get over it, but I can. I mean, I get it.
Yeah.
Okay. Second question, Big Mom 3. What is the shittiest or most backhanded piece of advice you've ever gotten?
This came from the head narc herself.
As did mine. Go ahead. Did you ever got from another mother or parent? What is it?
Evil. She said to me one time, I think when I was growing up, she was like, oh, I hope you have a daughter, so you see what it's like. I was like, and she like said that like negative connotation. And so I was all right, I'm going to get real right now.
Let's do it.
When Joe and I went for the ultrasound for our daughter, like we already had Joey, our boy, and we went for the ultrasound 12 weeks. They were like, oh, do you want to know? And we were like, oh, yeah. We don't keep secrets. We're ridiculous over here. The Johnson family cannot hold back. We're all extra. So we found out that Maddie was a girl. And I was, to be totally transparent, I was a little like, oh, great, but she came out, man, and we just fell madly in love with her. And it's just been, and then we had, when Joey was sick with the brain cancer, we got pregnant again because we're crazy.
Yes,
and
that's nuts,
we go big or go home. So we were like, hey, it's in God's hands. Well, our fertility came into play again. Joe looked at me and I got pregnant, and we named Josie, our second daughter. She's obviously named after Joey, Josephine. You don't hear that a lot these days, but she was born April 19th and Joey passed away April 23rd. Legit 4 days apart. I couldn't make this up if I tried. Like, Josie was in the NICU because, another amazing element. She was due on Joey's birthday.
May 20th.
Yes.
Wow.
So Josie was there's 300.
Like there's something to numerology. Days.
Definitely.
Yeah. There's so much to numerology. That's crazy. I love that yours came from the head narc. That's great.
Yeah. So she put it in my head, thanks for getting me back on track, by the way, because I'll go way off.
That's my job. It's to steer and just be like, we're back here.
You're doing it well. So she was like, yeah, I hope you have a daughter one day. It was a veiled threat or something. And I was like, so she set that negative tone, and girls are awesome. Girls drool, boys drool, as I teach my daughters on a daily
and guess
basis.
what? You can raise some really strong ass women who then become strong ass adults. Okay. Really important.
Talking about.
Really important. But that's a prime example though, right? Because people don't understand, your mom is not an asshole. She's a narcissist. She's manipulative. So again,
she's an asshole too.
Well, she's an asshole too, but you wouldn't.
She's an asshole narcissist.
She's an asshole narcissist.
Yes,
that's my new Instagram handle, asshole narcissist. I think that's pretty good. I think that'll go over well. Thank you.
We are just rattling them off.
We're just doing them. We're just shooting them out. Okay. Turn them out. Third question, Big Mom 3. Okay. What is a skill or superpower that you had before becoming a mom that you think has helped you as a mom?
This is pretty awesome, to be honest. I've been doing quite a bit of self-reflection. And so I have my graduate degree in psychology, right? Didn't put everything together about the dysfunction I was living in my toxic upbringing. Didn't put that together until I saw a YouTube video in 2019, beginning of the year. And I was like, oh my God, this is my family. I use quotes around all this stuff because I don't like to use terms of endearment when speaking of these individuals, because I feel nothing warm or fuzzy towards them.
I'm with you.
Nothing but anger and resentment here. So I didn't learn about narcissism until beginning of the year 2019. So something that I truly, and obviously our kids were born, and the toxic duo, I like to refer to them, being
we call them the dynamic duo in our home. So yeah, toxic duo.
So they obviously reaped all the attention and the narcissistic supply from us having our beautiful, awesome children. And I wish that I knew what was going on before we had our children. So before we had our children, I wish I knew exactly what I was dealing with in terms of the toxicity, in terms of my mother being the narcissist and the enabler, her husband, I like to call him the henchman, who is technically my biological father, I will say, but again, I don't like to apply those terms. No. So I wish I knew that prior to having kids, because I would never have let them be a part of these beautiful children's lives. They deserve so much better.
Yeah. I think that happens a lot. So I knew something was not right, but we're only disconnected about a year. So my daughter's a year and a half. So
okay.
As soon as she was,
so she doesn't know that.
Nope.
Good
and
for
she
you,
will
girl.
Not. If you're watching this, she will not.
Right.
But for me, when she was born, I was like, uh-oh, I know where this is going. You will not have anything to do with this perfect little girl.
Are you ready for that? There's a lot of people that vacillate between what should I do? And blah, blah. I'll tell you what, for anyone that's on the fence, your kids deserve better. You deserve better. And if there's no other motivation, we have a threshold for taking people's crap through the roof because of how they trained us and the toxic programming they instilled within us, you know. Obviously now that we're aware of it, whatever, like we don't take shit from anybody.
Never.
You know, like our bullshit threshold has reached an all-time low.
It's this big.
Thank you.
Big. Yeah.
I did a post about that one time. It was great. It was like, I've exceeded my bullshit tolerance for, you know, I've dealt with it for a lifetime, but
it's gone.
You know, so this is where I was going. I'm sorry. So the narc, the last time I ever saw that wicked woman, she came to our home. I started gray rocking, which is when you distance yourself, you keep your answers to a minimum, you come back with yes, no's, nothing more, nothing less, just, you know, stay out of my business kind of stuff.
To explain, so gray rocking essentially means you make yourself about as interesting
as a gray rock. That's right.
Yeah.
So I was doing that, and of course it pissed her off. She got infuriated, and I wasn't like taking her calls because I didn't want to talk to her.
You tried the like low contact thing first?
I tried it.
I couldn't do it either.
I was dabbling.
Yeah. I couldn't do it. It's like all or nothing.
Right. There's two kinds of narcissistic mothers, by the way. There's an engulfing mother and there's an ignoring mother. And my whole life, this evil woman was like ignoring, like couldn't be bothered with me. I was like a nuisance, you know. But then I try to cut contact, try to turn it on my terms, and she becomes engulfing. I was like, she's the worst of the worst of the worst.
So mine actually teeters somewhere in between, which I hear is I hear it's a real wonderful rare disorder that I have been so blessed with. I know. Yes. You know, that I was, you know, you're only important when it benefits them.
Right.
And then, you know, so you're engulfed when it benefits them, but you're ignored when it doesn't. And now since I've cut contact, ignored.
Oh, lucky you. That's a good place to be.
It's odd. I
wish mine would leave me the hell alone, but they don't.
Yes. Yeah. Well, they have no way of getting in touch with me. So.
Oh, well done.
It's all or nothing, right?
Well
for me, it had to be. That's not for everyone. That's not, you know.
No, it's absolutely on an individual basis. I always say that, you know, a lot of people unfortunately don't have the luxury, I guess, of cutting contact completely. But I'll tell you what, man, if you have kids and you can get yourselves out, do it. Yes. Don't hesitate. Amen. Because this is what this woman did. So she came over here this one day. I have all these YouTube videos about this, but I'll try to keep it short. She like totally attacked me, man. Like I'm in a wheelchair and she's like yelling at me, saying all these like wicked off-base things. And I'm like 40 years old now. And she was basically telling me that I'm a whore, that I was fucking all over her house. Like it was so preposterous. I was just looking at her like, you're pathetic. Like that's how pathetic these people are.
Well, that's what you have to get to, right? You have to get to the point when you're like, I feel bad for you.
Amen. Yes, exactly. You see them for what they are.
Until you do, you can't do anything about it. You're stuck.
It's just a mind fuck. Like you just keep trying to see. And I think that's what keeps a lot of people stuck as well, is you hang on to hope. When you finally get like the opposite of love is indifference.
Yeah.
So that's where that's the sweet spot. You want to get like to the point where you're just like, you can't reason or rationalize with crazy, with insanity. And that's what these people are that I'm like really coming to terms with. They're mentally ill.
Yes, they're mentally
ill. They really
ill.
are. Like they like Joe and I went to them in every possible, like, you know, they're big emailers because everybody's so dysfunctional. They don't communicate face to face.
Well, then they have it in writing. So
right. Yeah, that's a benefit of it. And it's all over my Instagram. But like even Joe wrote something like, I've never seen this level of dysfunction in a family. You know, you're making all these accusations against my wife, and it's absurd. It's just so absurd. It's so off base. It's like hard to get your head around.
Does your husband, and I have like topics for us to go through, but I think it's so interesting to just kind of talk about it also because people really don't get it. There's so much. And like I think we'll kind of hit everything just kind of chatting anyway. So my wife comes from, like, my in-laws they're just the fucking best. Like they're just incredible people.
Oh man, so is Joe's mom.
That's what I was gonna ask. Like, does he come from like a, because to me, like I took a look at my wife's family we're together 10 years. And over the last 10 years, and I was like,
that's awesome.
Yeah, she's great. You know, but I just get like, for the last 10 years, I've been thinking like, oh, like families can like each other and they can be respectful.
That's your family.
Like,
that's your real
that's my family. Of course it is. I mean, you know, that's my mother-in-law is, you know, I always joke. I'm like, it's like, you're like my mom, but it's like weird, you know, because I sleep with your daughter.
But my wife's not my sister.
Right. So it's this weird disconnect. But, you know, so I'm always curious, like, you know, if you have a
universe.
Right. Look, in another world.
So here's the thing with Joe. Joe's mom, unfortunately, passed. She passed away, but that is what reunited Joe and I. I was so screwed up from my toxic upbringing and being told that I was a piece of shit for all these years that Joe and I met freshman year in college at Fairleigh Dickinson University in Madison.
Very cool.
Fairly ridiculous. And we met freshman year. We fell madly in love. We were like on the fast track to like move in together, get married, like all that stuff. And then I was like, whoa, pump the brakes here. Because I was not used to that. You know, like you just become so like that. You equate love to like chaos, unhappiness, somebody treating you poorly, you know, especially when it comes from your upbringing, like your early childhood years, early development, that's your most critical developmental time. And when you're growing up in toxicity, you're all messed up. So I was super messed up. So I broke up with Joe. And then I got engaged to a narc.
I was just gonna ask.
You saw it coming, man.
Yeah.
It was a nightmare. It was like 5 of the worst years of my life. From like 20 to 25, I was with this jerk. I'm trying to censor myself somewhat.
It's so hard.
I was with this piece of garbage guy, and he discarded. We actually got engaged. He discarded me, which is a nice word of saying he dumped me, basically. Best thing he ever did. Because after that, I was like, you know what, man? Like, I just need to take a breather. I did, you know, date, touch and go-ish. Guys always felt madly in love with me. What are you going to do? And I was not interested. So I found myself, okay, so during that period, I'm a spaz. I told you we're all extras over here. But
I love it.
When I was with that jerk, I found out that Joe's mom had died.
Oh, so you guys like reconnected.
Well, yeah, I wrote him like this really long, sappy letter about how sorry I was for breaking his heart in college. You know, I was not fabulous when I did that, when I broke up, and I was terrible of me. So I wrote him this really, and I always said, like, Joe Johnson is the sweetest guy ever. He's so nice and he's got such a good heart. And I was like, this was so awful of me, what I did. So I wrote him this long, because I always knew how close he and his mother were, because his dad is a narc piece of garbage that took off on Joe.
Interesting.
Yes, isn't that crazy? Joe and I look at each other sometimes and we laugh, because what else can you do? We're like, we come from like nowhere. Like, his mom was awesome, and I love that I knew her and I got along with her super well. She was super funny, super awesome. She would have been like my surrogate mom, but similar to your situation. But unfortunately, she did pass away. But I do believe that was what drew Joan up, because that kind of got us back on each other's radar. I wrote him that letter, and then the jerk and I got back together, because that's what happens when you're
what you do.
A volatile narc relationship. You break up, you make up, you break up. So whatever, man. So Joe and I met up with each other like during one of the breakups that I was having with the narc. and we got back on each other's radars. And then it was, like I said, after the narc dumped me, he totally ghosted me. Just, it was the craziest thing. I was living in the same house with this piece of crap. He stopped talking to me. He stopped taking my calls. Like, what? It was absurd. But like, now that I see it for what it is, I'm just like, okay, I get it now. Like, at the time, I was just so like, went on vacation together. He took me to Cabo San. He used to take me on vacations, so I was like, at least I got that out of it, you know.
Yeah,
went to Ireland. We went to Cabo San Lucas a couple of times. I was cute, and back then I was like good arm candy, so it was a win-win, right? But I don't know, whatever. He dumped me, thank God, and Joe and I found our way back to each other, and here we are, 3 kids later.
I love it.
13 years.
You know what? And I think that's such a helpful thing. So like, I'm with you. Like, I dated awful people until I met my wife. And like, when I met my wife, in my head, I was like, this isn't going anywhere. It's just too nice. Too nice. Like, this isn't going to be a thing, you know? And then like, oh wait, this could be a thing. Like, I could end up with somebody who's not a total fucking nightmare. Like, yes, that's cool. Like, I have a tattoo in my mouth of a smiley face after a bad breakup. Like, we're talking, I dated like rough people, like not good.
Me too.
Not good, because and that's like kind of what I wanted to get into, and like
that's what you gravitate to.
You're hitting my topics, by the way. We're not even talking about them. I wanted to talk about. Got you. That's right. That's right. It's this idea of like breaking cycles, but like recognizing cycles, because you really can't start to break cycles, which is what this is all about. Right. That's ultimately like what narcissism.
We are cycle breakers.
We are cycle breakers. And it's so
trailblazers.
Fucking hard. And anyone who does it, like, oh my God, like, reach out to me anytime. I will talk to you about anything.
I say that too.
Right. It's so fucking hard. And I know how hard it is. And it sucks. And there are days when you're like, I gotta go back. And there's days when you're like, I did the right thing. Like, it's a mess. It's a mess.
Dude, I'm still like that, man. Like, I know that I'm doing the right thing. I know that this is the best thing for me and my family. But oh my God, I just realized something. Scatterbrain, Hot Mess Express over here. I got to go back to the narc with my daughter. But yeah, I know. I 1,000% know that I'm doing the right thing. But it's so messed up. Like, one day I'll be like, no regrets. I'm totally confident in myself. And the next day, I'm like, not questioning whether or not because I couldn't, even if I tried, I can't tolerate these people. The phoniness, the judgmentality, like, I can't do it. Even if I want, but I don't question that. But I'm like, is it me? Like,
so somebody sent me this great TikTok, which, like, I'm too old for TikTok. We all are, but it's fun sometimes. Yes. And somebody sent me this TikTok, and it was all about boundaries, and it was all about how like people misinterpret boundaries for holding a grudge.
Yes.
And I love that a million times, like, am I just holding a grudge? And the answer is no.
Absolutely.
Like, I'm not holding a grudge. I don't wish
you know why? Because like self-care and self-respect is so foreign to us.
You're not taught it. You're not taught like, oh, you know what, I need a minute to myself, or oh, I need space, or no, period, full sentence. You're not taught that. So I think that's changed my mentality about it a lot, is like, on the days when I'm questioning, and this person recently like sent this to me very recently. And like in the last couple of weeks, I've been like, oh yeah. Like, when I'm thinking like, am I wrong? No, I put a boundary in place, and that's okay.
And you're holding it because you deserve better, because you're respecting yourself for like the first time in your life
ever in 35 years.
Yes. It's like, we're finally respecting ourselves for the first time in our lives. Like, me too, like, in terms of like my physical health. You can't see it because it's so dark over here, but like the wheelchair that I'm sitting, it's like, for the first time in my life, I'm like taking steps to care for myself, care for my health, to make myself and my well-being a priority. I got to get back to the
daughter and narc. Yes, go for it.
So she came over here I'm sorry, it's such a leaky bag of shit, as Joe would say.
I love that.
I love that. Or a powder keg, that's another good one. powder
I like
keg.
leaky bag of shit a lot. A lot. My wife's gonna like that one too. That's a real good one. Leaky bag.
You can hang on to that one.
I will. I'm gonna just put it in my back pocket.
Use it as you please. So Maddie, so they came over here that day, the narc and the henchman, and Joe was at work. She texted him to make sure he was at work before she flew over here on her broom. And I'm at home in the wheelchair with our two beautiful daughters. And they were like, oh, you want to come swimming? And whisk them away. Like, F me, like everything that, like, I'm the mom, like, screw, but whatever. So she attacked me, took the kids to their pool because they're so bougie and they have a pool. And she
do you come from okay, so we do come from very similar upbringings then. Okay, understood. Got it.
So she said to Madeline, oh, it really hurt grandma's feelings that you didn't buy me a birthday present this year. Right?
Oh, I know that. I know that so well. Oh,
so that so got well. Like, as soon as Maddie told me that, I was like, oh, hell no. Like, Mama Bear was like, we're done with this shit. No, never again. So it's like I said, I feel like a lot of people go through this. We tolerate the crap and being treated like garbage for all these years. Then you come at our kids, whole nother level.
No, I'll kill you. I will I'd literally kill you. And that I think people need that. And this is not to be like, have a kid, you'll recognize everything that's fucked up about you. Like, for me, if I didn't have my daughter, I would have never done this.
Yeah.
I would have never done it. I would have never disconnected ever. Because it wouldn't, I would have been able to tolerate it like on the periphery.
Right. You just take it, keep taking it. Yeah.
But I took one look at her and I was like, if they fuck this kid up, like.
Exactly. No, like, you look at these beautiful little people and then everything starts to resonate, like sink in, like, oh my God, I was little like this once and my parents treated me like shit.
Yep.
Like, that hurts, man. But it's like,
and it's a process
that we have to go through.
Yes. And it's not, so I think this is like another thing. And like, I'm excited for people to watch this because, again, there's all of these like misconceptions, right? Like, when you say and I say like treated like shit, I don't mean constant screaming. I don't mean physical abuse necessarily. Like, and that's some people's journey. Like, for me, that wasn't the case. It was
there was no physical abuse.
No, it's manipulation. It's
self-doubt. The steady degradation.
Yes.
The constantly making you question yourself.
Yes.
You're not good enough. Like, were you the black sheep?
I'm the only sheep.
Okay. You're the black sheep.
Do you have siblings?
I have an older sibling, biologically, no contact.
Narc also?
He was the golden boy. He's kind of morphed himself into he's kind of like too passive to be an overt, like covert narcissist. He's kind of more of a, what do you call it? Inverted narcissist, which is like somebody that rides the coattails of the narc, which I applied this to the henchman too. An inverted narcissist is like somebody that like kind of wants to be a narc, but they don't have the balls to do it. Yeah.
Gotcha. And it's like, it's easier for them. There's no feather ruffling. There's nothing. They're never the problem child. It's very easy for them. I have some family members that while I'm an only child, I have some family members who certainly fall into that category of it's much easier to not ruffle any feathers and to go along with what
the whole dysfunctional unit is like that for me. The whole extended bunch of them. And it sucks, man, because we had, like, when I was little, I was like, oh, we have such a big family. It's so great. We have all these parties. I don't deal with any of them.
Up until I would tell you probably maybe 4 years ago, I was like, my parents are the best.
Oh, they're the
best. I had no idea. And then I shouldn't say 4, a little bit longer than that, but like over the last 10 years, it just started to like, oh my God. Like, and I was mad at myself for a really long time of being like, you're a pretty like self-aware person. How didn't you know?
There's no shame in the game.
There's no shame in the game.
I always say
Absolutely.
This because
there is none.
Just because you're a genuine, good-hearted person, you're a decent human being, and you would never suspect this from another human being, a decent, and they're your parents.
Yeah.
So they're hiding behind that mask of like, these are my parents. They're not evil to the core. They can't be.
Well, people hear the word abuse also, and it's such a big word. right? It's such a big, scary word, not to me anymore and not to you anymore, because we know what it means. But I think a lot of people hear the word abuse and they're like, well, I can't use that word for what I have going on.
You know what my thing is? Because exactly.
Yes, you can.
The shoe fits, people.
Yeah.
So my thing is like survivor. I know, like, everybody, you know why I think I have this? Because of Joey. Because my son, his picture's back there in the dark. That's why I keep doing that.
Okay. I was like, who are you pointing to? Okay.
You won't see it. I'm not that crazy. But he, you know, like, we met so many people in the children's hospitals and stuff. And like, to me, that's a survivor, like somebody that undergoes, like, that's just my association. I don't have any issue with anyone referring to themselves as but I don't refer to myself as a survivor. I'd rather say victim. So that's my hang up personally.
And you know what? I get that. I get that. I think that that's another word that has a lot of negative connotation, and people are like, well, don't play the victim and don't do this. Sometimes you're just the victim.
Definitely.
Sometimes you're the victim of an unfortunate situation, and that doesn't go away. You know, just because you become okay with it and you become mentally healthy and you work on things for yourself, it doesn't change anything. It allows you to move forward.
About the abuse word, though. Like, it's so hard for us. It's so hard for us to like reconcile that. Like, I was abused. Like, yeah, for sure.
Well, because you hear abuse and you think like, oh, my father beat the shit out of me. No, it's a
psychological, mental, emotional abuse is so much more like impactful. It's so much more harmful in a lot of ways. I mean, don't get me wrong, like physical and sexual abuse,
awful.
My heart breaks for anyone in any type of abusive situation, but it's hard. It's like unseen, when it's psychological abuse, but it's every bit as valid.
My wife always says, and I think this is like, she framed this really nicely because she also has her master's in psychology. So the two of you would be very, very tight.
We would hit it off.
You'd hit it off. But she always says, like, it's not like one thing. Like, I could never be like, well, it's this is what happened. Like she said, she always says, like, when you have a million tiny needles stabbing you for 35 years,
death by 1,000 cuts.
Death by 1,000 cuts. All of you bleed out eventually.
Yes.
And eventually you do. So no, one needle, no, two needles, no, a million needles a day for 35 years or however long. Yes, you're bleeding out on the ground. And that's where the word abuse comes in. It doesn't it's not like a flippant word,
Definitely.
I love it. Listen, we're almost done here, man. Can you believe this? We've just been like, shooting the shit.
I could talk to you forever. I told you.
Me too.
This is like a series.
I love it. Listen, we can chat anytime. Anything you want. Before we start to wrap up, though, I want you to pump up your platform, man. It's so good. So, I mean, talk about the platform a little bit.
Yes, I'm organically growing. Like, I know a lot of people follow the algorithms and all that stuff. I don't know, man. Maybe it's my rebel spirit. Maybe it's my spiteful nature, but I don't do any of that stuff. I don't do the algorithms. I don't follow any, and I really should, but I don't. I have a small but mighty community, and I love everyone in it. It's like my true family. I say it and I mean it, man. It's like
the best.
Victims of narcissistic abuse are some of the best people out there.
They get it.
Yeah, Bumped, Bruised, and Blessed is my Instagram, and it's my YouTube. And I have such an aversion to social media, but I did it for this purpose, for this community, because my ex-narc is obsessed with social media, as is the henchman.
Ooh.
And yeah, that's a big narc thing, social media. They love it because they get to put out what they want to put out, get people to buy their shit, and hide behind it, essentially. Like, look at me, I'm perfect, but you're not. But anyway, so I have my YouTube channel, Bumped, Bruised, and Blessed, my Instagram, and I'm putting together a book, which I'm super excited about.
Yes.
It's not together yet, but it will be, and it's going to be epic. and I'll come back on when
I was gonna say, when you have it, come back on, because I
definitely
love it. This is something, I mean, I could talk about this all day, and I do, in hours of therapy and all kinds of stuff. But it's nice to just talk about it casually.
So much, man.
It's so great. So thank you for coming. Let's start to wrap up a little bit, but everybody, please, even if you do not come from this type of background, follow Michelle, because she talks about it in a way that you are never going to be like, that person's such a narcissist again in your whole life. It's the equivalent for most people being like, that's gay. Don't say it. Don't say it. Right. It's wrong. Don't say it's wrong.
It's a spectrum. Narcissism is a spectrum.
Yes.
People can have narcissistic tendencies and be like high on themselves or up their own butts. Like, but a malignant narcissist is very different and that's what I do, man. I try to educate people on the intricacies of narcissistic abuse, the subtleties, the passive aggressive attacks, and things of that nature. So
yeah, and you're nailing it. You're nailing it. Okay, 2 final questions, and then we're good. Okay, first wrap up question. So you have girls, they're 8 and 9, almost 8 and 10. Yeah. What is something right now at their current ages you cannot live without as a parent?
I cannot live without. This is so cheesy.
Do it.
Don't judge.
I will, but I won't.
That's fine. But I can't live without Joe, my husband, and our children. You know,
oh my God, what a stupid that's a great answer. What are you, crazy? That's such a nice answer. Oh my God. Okay, ready? Final question. You sort of answered it before, just kind of chatting in general, but I'm wondering if it's framed this way, if it's different or if it's the same. What is something you know now that you wish you knew before becoming a mom?
All right, I said about the toxic duo. Yeah. I wish I knew what they were so I could eliminate them from our fabulous life earlier. So our kids, because when I went no contact, our kids were like, it was 19. So it was, Maddie was 8 and Josie was 6. And it was kind of awkward because they kind of knew them. You know, they had like that bullshit superficial relationship. So it was kind of like, it started out like, we're just not going to see grandma and papa for a while. And then we just kept, you know, they're so smart though. Kids are so resilient and they understand. So they get enough. So that's something that I stand by. I'll say
good answer. No, listen, I think
I wish I knew that.
I think it's a great answer. I love it.
My superpower as a parent, look, here we go again.
Go right back.
I'm reeling myself back in. My superpower is that I'm super empathic, like most victims of narc abuse are, but I really, I'm like intuitive. Like I pick up on Joe's energy and our kids' energy. Like I know immediately, like when they walk into a room, how they're feeling. And this is something that I'm so proud of myself for, because Joe can be somewhat insane. He's an awesome guy. Love him crazy, but sometimes he doesn't appreciate the way he comes off. So he'll be like joking around with Josie, the little one, and he's kind of harsh, and she's so sensitive, and I see her and I get it. So like one time he was like joking around with her and she was like she was kind of quiet, like, and I was like, Joe, lay off, man. Like
she didn't like it.
You're hurting your feelings, like stop. So that's a superpower, being intuitive and knowing what they need and how they feel without, you know, I respect the shit out of them. I respect everyone, like to an obnoxious degree because of, you know, what I experienced growing up. So you bet your butt my kids are like super respected and I honor them.
They're heard. Yeah. That's right. However, everyone is super respected until you disrespect me.
Yes.
And then like, God fucking help you. But,
that's fair. Know. Not even God can help you. Like
God can't help you. No one can help you. No one can stop this crazy train.
That's fair.
Well, listen, my new friend, you will certainly be back. It has been such a blast talking to you. Thank you for coming on. And thank you for watching Shit Moms Won't Say. Have a great night.